welcome to a new episode of Tom's Geeky Garage. Today we are going to continue on our Dark Ghostbusters by making an actual Ghostbuster this time. We're going to be making Egon. Now, like I said in previous videos, my idea for this Dark Ghostbuster universe is to kind of take the Ghostbusters to a dark, twisted kind of universe. So, throughout this series, I'm going to do a lot of things that are not canon or would you never see in the Ghostbusters universe, but that's okay because we're just making up this crazy place. So today we're going to do Egon. Not going to get too much into it, so let's just get started, right? Before we do, make sure you like and subscribe if you like seeing custom toys and action figures and things like that. Alright, like we do on most of our projects here, we're going to start by making a low poly geometry base, which is what we're going to use to sculpt onto. So this is me setting that up. You can see the basic Egon head shape here. Now at this point I didn't know what our Egon was going to look like, but I mean we kind of all know the basic Egon silhouette. So I made a really long face with big hair on top. And here you can see after I've already sculpted, this is the sub count turned down, and now I'm slowly increasing the sub count of the geometry so you can kind of see the progression of the sculpt. So this is the final look here. I think it came out pretty good. I kind of wanted to look a little older and kind of like more like a mad scientist, you know. I think we got that. So here you can see me setting up the body. And we do this the same way. We start with a really low geometry and we will subdivide it and sculpt it. But what you can see me doing here is adding actual joints to that geometry. And these joints allow me to animate it and pose the figure. So you can see me testing out and make sure all the bones are working. Alright, so at this point we've used those joints that we just put in to actually pose the figure into our pose. It looks like he's eating breakfast, which is okay for now. I've quickly made these table and chairs. Didn't really have a reference of what I wanted it to look like, so I just kind of built it on the fly. I think it came out okay. And here you can see the final 3D portion of this show. I've went through and added a bunch of tools and stuff on the table. You can see our proton pack is there, broke down in a lot of pieces, so it kind of looks like he's either building this or he's repairing it or modifying it, you know, who knows. There on the floor you can see an Alice pack frame. I think in the final version of this I'll put the Alice pack on the actual pack itself. And you can see this cool little eyepiece I made for him too. I want him to have some kind of contraption on his head, so I made this like multiple lens, like a zoom lens eyepiece. I thought that was pretty cool. And here is what I've settled on. I think on the table we have a couple screwdrivers, a couple wrenches. We'll go more into the detail here in the next step of the video. I'll kind of run through all the parts that we made. But for now, I think it came out looking pretty cool. I didn't take it as dark as I'm gonna take the rest, but anyhow. So we sent this to the printer. I think this one took, he took about 10 hours because I had to print a lot of little pieces. Okay, so now all the printing is finished. Let's just take an overlook of all the parts that I broke this into to print. So first we have that desktop. Now unfortunately when I was pulling this out of our printer, it cracked and I had to glue it. And I didn't really want to reprint it, so I just glued it. It'll be okay. Once I paint it and I cover it with all the props, you won't see the crack, so it'll be fine. So we got the tabletop. We have the table legs here. Not much to say about those, but one cool thing about these is the way they printed laying down like this. So the layers are like this. And what that does is it leaves a pattern of the layers. And I purposely printed these at a lower resolution so we could see the print lines, because the print lines are going to give a little bit of a wood texture on that. And let me just zoom in, see if I can zoom in on this and let me see if I can get those in focus so you can see it. I don't know if you're going to be able to see this on camera. Not really. Hold on. You can see right there on the top edge. It's got a little bit of the printing pattern here. But what that's going to do is once I paint this, if I hit this with dark paint, and then I do a light brushing of, you can see it better there. If I do dark paint and do a light brush of lighter paint, it's going to bring out all those ridges, and it's going to make it look like a wood texture. So it's going to help sell this as a piece of wood, which is really cool. Alright, so let's zoom back out here a little bit. Alright, so table legs, of course, the chair, not much to say about this. Probably the same situation as the table. We're going to have those print lines in it, which are going to help sell this as a piece of wood. Cool. Let's actually get this out of the way for a second. Now we have the proton pack here. Now this was printed in multiple pieces, so there's the actual pack shell here, and there's some components already on it. I didn't break it down completely. I want it to look like he was repairing it or in the middle of building it. We got the bumper, which would be right here on the final build, and then we also have this piece here. Now I made these hollow because normally they'd have lenses in there for the lights, but I wanted this to look like he has it disassembled, so right now it has no lenses, so there's just holes, which was cool. And this all fits together, so you could technically build this and get like an actual kind of built pack here. But for what we're doing, we're going to have these items just scattered on the table, so it looks like he was just in the middle of constructing it. And we have a couple other little bitty pack pieces that will scatter on the table. So that's it for the pack parts, just those. We have some tools here, which I'm going to have to zoom in now at this point, I think. So we have some little screwdrivers. Can I get these? See if I can get up here and get these in focus. You can see these little bitty screwdrivers. So we've got those little screwdrivers, and then we also have little monkey wrenches. Which are cool. And that's all the tools. We got these three, just one monkey wrench and two screwdrivers. Now, I could go back and print more tools just to make the desk look more cluttered, but for now, I think this will be good enough. And next, we have a little disc lamp. I don't know what model this is. I actually found this lamp online and just copied the style of it. I don't really know the brand of what it's supposed to be, but it's one of those ones that got a green glass cover, and this will be all brass or gold. So yeah, it's this little disc lamp that will go on there. We have the Alice pack, and I this could either sit on the desk with the pack parts, or in the the CGI render, I had this sitting on the floor, leaning up against the desk, which will probably be what I do. I'll probably lean it up against there and glue it, so it just looks like he had it sitting beside his feet, which will be cool. And then we have the actual figure. We printed him in a few different parts. We have his legs, so they'll sit like that. His butt will go on the chair, so I guess we can kind of see like that. His butt will go in the chair, and he'll be kind of resting his foot up against the chair. See that? And then we have this top section here. So this is the chest, and he has a wand and a screwdriver in his hands, so he's in the middle of screwing something or prying something, you know, whatever your imagination thinks. So cool, he's got that. And then final is the head. So there's the head. So let's see, we have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 pieces. 18 pieces for this model. So, a lot of little parts, but we're going to start painting these. And the painting style, I want to show you, I showed this on our Facebook, and a quick reminder, if you are not friends with us on Facebook, go over there and add us as a friend. There you can see some of this pre-painting and behind the scenes kind of project stuff, and some, you know, I kind of share everything on there before it actually gets to YouTube, so if you'd like to see that, just go over there. Anyways, this is just kind of a test head that we had painted, and what I'm going to do when I paint this, which I'm going to go through in just a second, detail-wise, we're going to actually paint this head step by step, but I'm going to do kind of a different kind of painting. Normally when I do washes, I will start with a matte paint and then use a matte color to kind of go over that. But this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint our base coats, and then after we get our base coat painted, we're going to seal it with a gloss sealer, and then we're going to do our wash over that gloss sealer. And what that's going to do is, if you have the matte paint and then you take watered down wash and you put it over matte, the cracks will get some of that wash, but what happens is the rest of it will actually get darker, and it kind of like, it almost like soaks it in because it's matte. There's a texture there, so the paint kind of grabs a hold of it. When you actually seal this and then do a wash, the wash can't get on those high spots. Like, it flows off of them, and it directs itself into the grooves more. So basically the effect of the wash is more like more intense. So like here you can see this wash. This was a single wash on this guy, and you can see it really brings out all the wrinkles. Like, even this wrinkle behind his ear. Let's see if I can zoom in here. You see like this wrinkles behind his ear, like it really brings out all those little details with that wash, and it does some cool stuff. Like, it went in around the lenses, and it just makes the features a little more stand out. So that's how we're going to paint this whole figure. We're going to try it that way. And I used to paint figures like this back in the day when I used to do like props and things. It's a very like McFarlane Toys kind of way of painting things. And that's kind of what my goal is on this figure. So we're gonna try it. Whatever. So let's go ahead and move on to the painting part.
Alright, so now we're going to get into our painting. Now, I'm not going to show me paint the entire figure, but I am going to run through the head and show you kind of the paint steps that I'm going to take on all the other parts. So if you're painting this at home, you can kind of get an idea of what I did here. Before we started, I had went ahead and sprayed this guy with a base coat of white, mainly because I didn't want to have to brush paint the eyes white, and doing flesh, I tend to start with the base coat of white anyways. So I did that anyways. So now let's get started. So pretty much how this is going to go is we're going to do a few base coats and then a wash. Now, I decided for this figure, I'm going to go ahead and go with the blonde Egon, like the real Ghostbusters, mainly because I just want some separation between all the figures. I don't want them all to be brunettes, so having him blonde will kind of make him stick out a little bit. So what we're going to do is we're going to put down our base skin, and then we're going to do, since we're doing a yellowy hair, I'm probably going to put down like some kind of middle brown shade as a base for the hair. And then for the skin, I'm not going to do too much. I might come in with a little bit of red and just kind of put a little bit of red on the nose and the chin, some of the cheeks, you know, like blush. Very lightly, if I do any at all. And then the lips, I'll put a little bit on the lips. And then after we get that base coat done, like the hair will get, I'll dry brush the blonde over it. And then after we get all those done, we're going to seal it. And then we're going to do a wash over it. And I think that will be good for the head. So let's get started. So the first thing I need to do is a skin tone. So I'm just going to mix up, I'm going to set him aside here for a second. And mix up some skin. So I'm just going to do a mix of red, white, and yellow until we get a skin that we like. So first I'll start with white. We don't need a whole lot since we're just doing the head. So a little white, a little yellow. And what I tend to do when I mix colors is I just kind of put three kind of puddles of each color, and then I mix them all as I need them into one. So we'll just go ahead and drop in all the colors there. So you can see we have the white, the yellow, and the red. And when I'm doing skin, I start by making a pink. So I'll take a little bit of the red and then start the white petal, and then I'll start mixing to get a pink. You don't want it dark pink and you don't want it to look white. This is probably good. It's kind of mid pink. It's not pure white, but it's not like super pink either. And now I'm going to start adding in little bits of the yellow until I get it to a shade I like. And to be honest, right off the bat, just one little dip of yellow kind of almost got it there. Almost. A little more yellow. A little more yellow. A little more. Okay, let's see. I'm okay with that. Maybe just a tad more yellow. Just a tad more. Alright, cool. And I'm going to add just a little bit of water, just kind of water this whole thing down. If you put on this paint really thick, it's going to leave brush marks You want this to be kind of watered down, that way when it dries it kind of smooths itself out. Okay, cool. So now that's looking okay to me. Alright, so got that. Now the trick here is you don't have to be really careful with this, but I just need to be careful to make sure I don't get it on the lenses of the glasses, because we want to keep those white. But don't worry about going over into the hair, because we're going to put another base coat on that anyway. So we'll start with this flesh. Finished our base coat on everything, so now he has just a base skin tone, and he is going to be blonde, and you'll understand why I went ahead and did this brown is because we're going to do a dry brush of blonde over this, and then once we seal it we'll also do a black wash. So it's just kind of the mid-tone. So when you're doing these kind of things, the way I do it at least, I do it your mid-tones, your darks, and your lights. So I'll start with my base coat, which is my mid-tone, and then any light highlights are dry brushed to hit the high spots with the light color, and then a wash will go in all the deep areas and give your third tone. So it's like 3 tones: your light tone, your mid tone, and your dark tone. And this is my way to do it. There's probably a lot of people who do it different ways. You can do it whichever way you like. That's just the way I do it. Not sure it's the right way, but it's the way I'm going to do it. We're going to do a little dry brush, so I'm going to mix up some yellowy white, and then we're just going to get a little bit on our brush and just lightly hit the high spots and work our way around. So for this, I'm going to get more of like a thicker brush, and I'm going to make sure that it is dry as much as I can get it. Make sure I get all the water out of it for now, as much as I can get. Okay, now we'll go ahead and mix up some, we'll take a little white, we'll drop it in here by our yellow that we had from earlier when we did the skin tone. And I'll just make some kind of like a pastel yellow. Our brush is dry, so I'm going to dab it in that yellow that we just made. And we just want a very little bit of that paint on the brush. And we're going to try to just lightly hit these high spots. And you can do this, you can build this up, so you don't have to get it all perfect the first time. You know, you can hit a little bit, then let it dry and come back out a little more. So if you have a texture that's going this way, brush the opposite of the texture. That way you're just getting the high spots. You're not letting it get down into all the grooves and stuff like that. You don't want that. Just trying to hit the high spots. Now this is such a wide brush, you gotta be careful around your skin. You don't want to mess up your skin, get your hair paint on it, so you have to be careful. And you can do this with a smaller brush if you need to get into more detailed spots. I think I can get this fine with what I got here. So you can see what the effect here is already. This really helps if you're modeling. Has a lot of really deep grooves in it. You know, it really helps you, you know, get the paint down in there. Now I'm gonna have to mix up a little more paint here. And continue applying. Now I'm not putting any pressure on this, by the way. I'm just lightly letting the brush kind of ride the surface. I'm not pushing it down into the part. I'm letting it just kind of jump across the high spots. And we're still going to do a wash over this, so I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect because the wash will go down in those dark areas too, so it's okay if it's not perfect right off the bat. I want to get a little more of the sideburns here. Maybe I'll bring in a little bit of a little more white on the sides. Maybe he's grayed a little bit, you know, showing his age. Bring in a little more of a white, maybe here on the sides a little bit. Give him a little bit of a fade of color here. It's going to kind of fade from brown down here at the bottom. Kind of fade up into the blonde. Okay. I don't want to like overdo it. So for now, I think that's going to be fine. I don't want to like overwork it. You could get yourself in a bad place. If you start applying too much, then you've filled in everything and it's just, it doesn't carry the effect too much. Alright. So, we'll let this dry and then we'll come back and seal it. Alright, so we are back. So, I just went outside and gave this guy a spray and he's really shiny. That's normal. He's still wet. The shine will go down a little bit once it dries, but it will stay pretty shiny. The trick here with the sprays too is you don't want to spray super heavy. There's no need to like just put a whole lot. I mean, I just dust it until it looks like a smooth surface. You don't want to have the sealer fill in all the little sculpting marks, because then when you do your wash, there will be nowhere for that wash to flow. So it's just lightly spray it until it's shiny, just enough to seal the paint in. So we're gonna let this dry, and then we can do our wash. And if you notice too, once you do the sealer, it makes all the colors kind of pop more. So it brings out a lot more of the red that we put on and some of the yellow we put in. Okay, so we're back about 15 minutes later. This sealer has had a chance to dry. It dries pretty quick since you put it on so light. Now, if you put on a bunch of heavy coats, you'll have to let this dry for a few hours, I imagine. But since I just dusted it just enough to seal it, it dries pretty quick. So now we are going to do a wash on this. So I was going to do a multicolor wash on this, but I think I'm just going to just say the hell with it and just do a black wash over the whole thing and just see what happens. Since we sealed it, the cool thing is if we do this wash, we don't like the look of it, we can wash it off and try again. If you didn't seal it, you couldn't do that because when you try to wash it off, you'd wash off your base coat too. But now there's a barrier between what we painted earlier and what we're about to do. It's kind of a little dividing coat that will help us separate it. So let's go ahead and just let me get another little tray here. One here. We're going to find us a black. Let me find black. Okay. Just gonna put a little black in here. What's that? Yeah, I'm just filming. Alright, so I'm just going to water down this black here. Probably about 50%. You can kind of test on something else to see how much it sticks. A little bit thick, so I'm going to water it down a little more. Test it again. Yeah, you can do stuff. You're good. A little more water. I think that's good. Let's just try it here. We can always add more water to it. Alright, so this is really no special way to do this. You just brush it on. Just make sure you get it everywhere. Now this looks really extreme right now, but this is going to keep running as it dries, and it's going to flatten out. So it's really just letting this dry. So we're going to let this sit here and let it run, let gravity do its job, and everything will run down the model. And as it dries, it will kind of thin it out. All right, so this is almost dry. It's still wet, but it's pretty much settled to where I think it's gonna settle. And I'm okay with the look of this, so we're just going to, we're going to paint the glass frames. We're going to go ahead and paint those black, and then we're going to do this whole paint thing over the rest of the figure, and then we'll come back when it's all done. So that came out looking pretty cool. There's a few things that I would did differently if I could do it again. I would like to maybe had used actual colored washes rather than using black wash over the whole thing, because it kind of darkened everything up a little too dark. But I didn't really want to print and repaint a whole nother one, so this is it for me. But if you're doing it, you might want to play with washes and do something else different with the paint. Other than that too, I wanted to add the bottom edge of his lab coat, and the idea was to take some material and actually glue it to the back of the figure and then wrap it under his leg so it looks like he's sitting on top of his lab coat. But I didn't technically have any material laying around to do that, so that might be something I come back and do later. For now, this is what it's going to have to be. So in our next upcoming videos, we're going to do some more Dark Ghostbusters. We are going to be doing the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, which would be pretty cool. He is going to be kind of a diorama too, so he's going to have a little bit of a building and a base. And I'm trying to picture him being really, really melty and more scary. And I think I'm gonna have like faces and like people stuck inside his chest and like stuck in goo, like screaming and reaching out, like people like reaching out, kind of like that scene on Nightmare on Elm Street where he has like all the children's souls stuck in his chest and they're like screaming. I'll try to insert a picture of that if I can find one. Something like that, and maybe have like police cars and stuff stuck in his legs, and I don't know yet. And then we're going to continue on and do the other Ghostbusters. I kind of have a base idea what I'm going to do with each of them, but I'm not going to share that yet. I'm going to reveal that in those videos. So anyways, thanks for watching. Hope you liked it, and subscribe, share, and go check us out on Facebook. Like us over there. And we'll have the STL files for this up after this video gets, I think, 1,000 views. It's a little bigger playset, so we're going to push that number a little higher. And also, we're going to wait until the Muncher video hits its goal before we start counting this guy. So make sure you go over and check that video out if you haven't, so you can get the files for this one. Thank you.